Sheriff, pray, give us order.
The meeting will now come to order. Our religious traditions alert us to important moments in our lives, opening our eyes to wonders that are directly before us. At the dawning of a new day, we respond with a moment of acknowledgement and gratitude. Now, I know not everyone here greets the sound of an alarm clock with spiritual intention or prayerful words. But when a new day is before us, with new opportunities for love, accomplishment, pleasure, and work to make the world a better place, our hearts must open to the dawn before us. In Jewish tradition, we greet the dawn, or perhaps a few moments later, by declaring our thankfulness for the day before us, much as the biblical Jacob who awoke from his famous dream, suddenly aware that he had been in the presence that he called God. Be awake to your last moment as Williams students, or parents, or relatives, or friends of Williams students, acknowledging with gratitude the open road before you. Even as you breathe in the freshness of a Berkshire morning, let the very air we breathe be in every way inspiration. The poet Joanna Dulkin wrote these words, which frame the wonder of this morning of promise and transition in the Purple Valley. Don't forget the miracle of morning, says God, how the black and grays of night fade to technicolor, how I drench my mountains in gold, pink, purple, and orange, splashing green onto the long grasses and sponge painting each tree trunk. Don't forget the miracle of morning, says God. It is I who persuaded the night stars to lend their sparkle to the water's surface by day. Don't forget the miracle of morning, says God. While humans lumber and slumber, my manifold creatures flutter, leap, perch, and crouch to meet the dawn. They are my most faithful witnesses to the daily renewal of creation. Don't forget the miracle of morning, says God, the temporary triumph of light over darkness, how the sun's fingers peel away the night and the travails of the evening are laid bare, when dreams are shaken loose from their husks and sent back to the inner world, when the shadows retreat and give way to new old wonders. Remember the miracle of the morning. Let us celebrate the miracle of this morning.
Please be seated. On behalf of the college, I'd like to open these ceremonies by extending a warm welcome to all of you, students, families, friends, and distinguished guests. We are delighted to see you here and grateful that you have gathered from far and near for this wonderful day. I'd like to offer special thanks to Sheriff Bowler for his special kickoff to the ceremony. With this, the college's 223rd commencement, we continue the tradition of flying the flags of each of the 51 countries represented by this year's graduates, colorful and inspiring symbols of the world from which our students have gathered. One of the nicest aspects of the weekend is being able to watch our graduates share moments with faculty and staff who have done so much to make their Williams experience productive and rewarding. And I ask, therefore, that we recognize all members of the Williams faculty and staff with our applause. And not a single graduate would be here today without the support and encouragement of many people. So I ask that we similarly recognize all of our students' parents, other family members, and friends who are with us here today. Four guests we are particularly pleased to welcome this weekend are the recipients of the Olmsted Prize for Excellence in Secondary School Teaching, honored yesterday at Ivy Exercises. We ask our recipients to please stand and ask the audience to hold applause until all names are announced. Mike Levin of Flagstaff, Arizona, Patrick O'Connor of Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ann Thomas of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Mark Vondrasek of Evanston, Illinois. Most prizes and fellowships awarded to members of the senior class were announced by Dean Bolton yesterday at Ivy Exercises. A list of the recipients, as well as lists of seniors receiving various categories of honors, can be found at the back of the commencement program. Please join me in congratulating them on their wonderful achievements. The William Bradford Turner Citizenship Prize was established in memory of Mr. Turner of the class of 1914, who was killed in action in France in 1916. The prize is awarded to that member of the graduating class who, in the judgment of the faculty, fellow seniors, the dean of the college, and the president, has rendered the most exemplary service to the college and to fellow students. This year's recipient has challenged herself academically, pursuing a variety of scholarly interests. She has been a crucial campus leader all 4 years at Williams, focusing her prodigious energies on building and deepening our community. She has affected Williams in almost every context, from creating new ways to talk about difficult issues to spearheading campus-wide celebrations. As a deeply respected peer and leader in College Council, Sankofa, and Students Against Silence, this biology major is an outstanding Williams citizen. I now have the pleasure of calling on stage this year's winner of the William Bradford Turner Citizenship Prize, Francesca Barrett. With the ending of this academic year, 8 members of the faculty will have reached the conclusion of their Williams careers. We will now honor those who are in attendance. Linda K. Bunsen. Where's Linda? Just stand here. You're good. You have blazed trails in the classroom, in scholarship, and in the integration of women into Williams. In addition to your teaching of Shakespeare, You were an early introducer to our curriculum of film studies and women's studies, and your scholarly work in both fields has been highly influential. It has helped illuminate the work of such directors as Herzog, Bertolucci, and Bergman, and brought fresh eyes to such films as Blue Velvet and Thelma and Louise. Most notably, however, you have in two highly regarded books expanded our understanding of Sylvia Plath and Ted Hughes, helping us to see more deeply in their work the effects of their personal relationship. As a result, you have become a focus, at times even an obsession, of Plath devotees worldwide. Here at home, we especially applaud your advancement of the role of women at Williams. Joining the faculty 40 years ago with few female colleagues, let alone role models, you quickly founded a branch of Committee W on the status of women, then helped write the college's first affirmative action policy and appoint its first affirmative action officer, and then helped establish its first women's studies program. Through these efforts and so many more, you have done as much as any Williams faculty member to make this a place where female students, faculty, and staff can thrive. I hereby declare you Herbert H. Lehman Professor of English, Emerita, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Robert F. Dalzell, Jr. When 60 former students gather from around the world to surprise you at your final class, you know you've made an impact. Your love of teaching, of history, and of institutions found a natural home here at Williams. Your course on the rise of American business, so popular that you often voluntarily taught extra sections, became an institution itself. In your service as College Marshal, you attended closely to the ceremonies and rituals that helped to define Williams, and with care, adapted them to more modern times. As an historian of early America, you took particular delight in the history of Williams, which was founded and grew in that era. On the occasion of the renovation of Griffin Hall, your insightful look at what changes made to that building over the decades said about the college and its times became the rich method of analysis that you and your wife, Lee, subsequently applied in your books that used as lenses Mount Vernon to better understand George and Martha Washington, and Keicut to comprehend the Rockefeller family. Many more than those 60 students have praised you as a mentor for finding in them potential they did not know they had, and for, as one put it, showing that hard questions are not inconsistent with good humor, and that high standards are not inconsistent with kindness. I hereby declare you Fred Rudolph Professor of American Culture, Emeritus, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Marcus E. Johnson. Australia, Baja, Scandinavia, China. How come geologists never do their fieldwork in Cleveland? A childhood wonder at how the prehistoric ocean could have reached your home in Iowa sparked an intellectual curiosity that has led you on journeys around the world and here to our glacially dug, deep Marble Valley. It seems only appropriate that among the funders of your work has been National Geographic. That sense of wonder persists as students report how infectious your enthusiasm for geology has been, and how traveling with you in the field resembles being with a kid in a candy store. So many goodies to pick, or in your case, to pick at. Along the way, you have become a world authority on the ecosystems of rocky shores and how they have changed over the ages. At the same time, you have studied and taught the history of the life sciences and mentored countless of thesis students. But what those of us who have spent our research hours in dank laboratories and libraries marvel at most is how someone who spent his at the beach could have been disciplined enough to produce a list of publications of such staggering length. I hereby declare you Charles L. McMillan Professor of Natural Science, Emeritus, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Glyn P. Norton. Born in Exeter, England, during an aerial bombardment of World War II, you have pursued an intellectual life focused on the more genteel, but no less passionate cultural currents of Europe. A specialist in French and Italian literature and criticism of the Renaissance, you have lectured broadly on these subjects throughout the US and Europe and led seminars at the Folger Institute, the Sorbonne, and Oxford. You have won fellowships from the Guggenheim Foundation, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the American Council of Learned Societies. You edited the Cambridge History of Literary Criticism, Volume 3, The Renaissance, which commentators called brilliant and even an occasion for great rejoicing. It has now been translated into Arabic. To Williams, you have brought deeply European sensibilities in teaching such courses as literary masterpieces of the Renaissance, in thoughtfully mentoring countless colleagues, and in chairing the Romance Languages Department and directing the Center for Foreign Languages, Literatures, and Cultures. Underneath all this erudition has been barely hidden a love of popular culture. Through all of this, however, you have embodied the thought of Montaigne that there is no desire more natural than the desire for knowledge. I hereby declare you Wilcox B. and Harriet M. Adsit Professor of International Studies Emeritus, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Alex W. Willingham. It is hard to believe that at the time of your high school graduation, your local newspaper in Louisiana ran a report claiming to prove the inferiority of blacks, a send-off that your subsequent life has done more than put the lie to. You first applied the lessons of your PhD in political science to directly advancing civil rights, working on the front lines with such organizations as the ACLU, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the Center for Constitutional Rights, and the National Jury Project. Never losing your scholarly interest in the role of race in American politics, you accepted in 1989 a senior appointment here at Williams, where you have taught, among other things, civil rights, voting rights, and Southern politics. You have become a national expert on US voting laws and on electoral opportunities for minorities, including the movement to develop affirmative voting procedures. At the same time, you have helped open Williams to new areas of inquiry through your chairing of the Political Science Department and the Afro-American Studies program and directing of the Multicultural Center. It can be said that countless of our students have benefited from being taught by someone who not only studied the civil rights movement, but who lived it. I hereby declare you Professor of Political Science Emeritus, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Reiko Yamada. Launching a Japanese program at a liberal arts college in the 1980s was considered audacious, but with your guidance, it became instead auspicious. You not only helped develop the Williams program, but have served for many years as its coordinator and brought to it all of its current faculty members. Japanese is a difficult language for most Westerners, and your students attribute their success in it to the combination of your being both very demanding of them and very generous with your time and attention. In your teaching, you were an early adopter of multimedia, introducing video and podcasts long before they became fashionable. Much of your scholarly work has analyzed the efficacy of various modes of Japanese language pedagogy. You have also researched the role of social factors in the acquisition of language. And you have explored some of the complex issues that come into play when we try to communicate across cultures. What more important research can there be in our current world than that? Those very skills are what have made you so successful in the historic role you have played in opening our culture here at Williams to the East. I hereby declare you Professor of Japanese Emerita, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Also receiving emeritus status today is Professor of Music Ernest Brown, whom death took from us much too soon. Ernest had opened up whole new worlds to Williams, the world of Latin America, the world of the Caribbean, and most notably and powerfully, the world of Africa. His courses in Music Cultures of the World, the history of African American music, and Black music and postmodernism introduced generations of Williams students to communities of which many had been only dimly aware. He delighted us with his spirited playing of the marimba, mbira, and drums. He transformed the performing arts on campus by helping to found and to nurture the African dance group Kusika and the Zambezi Marimba Band. Having lived and studied in Africa, Ernest moved confidently in many cultures and helped us to do so as well. At his passing, alumni flooded various social media to mourn his loss and to celebrate the many ways in which he had enriched their educational, cultural, and personal lives. The mark that Ernest Brown left on this college is permanent. I would ask us all to observe a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you. Since 1795, seniors have spoken from the commencement stage. Indeed, in early years, all seniors spoke. The present wiser practice of are you comfortable? Of limiting the student speakers to 3 members of the class began in 1901. 1 speaker is chosen by the class, 1 is selected by the Phi Beta Kappa Society, and the last speaker is our valedictorian. It is my pleasure to introduce our class speaker, Kyle Martin.
My beautiful classmates, family, mom, dad, friends, Jonas, faculty, people watching this elsewhere, and people who went through so much just to be here today. I have a dream. I know, I just always wanted to do that though. Until recently, I saw this day more like a funeral. Our lives of intellectual growth and exploration would come to an end. A life of infinite coffee, extensions, Goodrich, honey bun, buffalo fries, and free Wi-Fi is over. For some of us, this might be the last time we see each other. After all, why are we all wearing black? We are leaving a world surrounded in purple for a world that is colorless. Why can't the real world have color too? How cool is it to say that we live in a purple bubble? That's something kids would trade you for in lower school. You'd be like, nah, Jimmy, it's cool. I don't want your glow-in-the-dark Go-Gurt. I got my purple bubbles. As you pretentiously blow it in his face. No, this is not a funeral. Better yet, consider this a wedding. We are not marrying each other, even though most of us will, but we are joining an already strong alumni society. Through better and worse, we will wield our purple lightsabers like young Jedi warriors. May the Force be with you, my little Skywalkers. How much better would the world be with traditions like Mountain Day, where the mayor unexpectedly calls off work and everybody goes to a park or a rooftop building, and your coworkers sing songs like Shout as you stuff yourself with hot cider and grilled honey buns. As the youngest male of our class, I consider myself your younger brother. Let's admit it, every one of you at least know one embarrassing story about me, faculty and parents included. You taught me more than any tutorial or seminar could have. You woke up with me at 6 in the morning to work out, and you stayed up with me till 3 a.m. having raging study sessions. Study sessions, yeah. Now, I was never good at goodbyes, so I will leave you with this story. When I was a little boy, freshman spring, there was a terrible storm that instantly consumed the sky. Everyone stopped to watch it. Eventually, the sun split the dark nebulous cloud, and through the quiet mist appeared a rainbow. Right away, I knew what this meant. I was going to get that pot of gold. If I had to take out Mr. Lucky Charms myself, I knew I had to get my hands on some quick cash. So I got off the steps of Peresky, called my friend, and within minutes, we were on our way to Poker Flats. However, we misjudged the distance. It was floating further away, over the soccer fields. It was fading quickly, so we began to run on the wet grass, and before I knew it, my friend slipped and face planted into the ground. She came up looking like a giant mud pie. I said, ew. Nevertheless, she wiped the mud out of her eyes, blew the dirt out of her mouth, and we sprinted past Cole Fieldhouse and down the hill. I would never have to worry about tuition or loans again. And when we got there, the rainbow was actually on top of pine cobble. Exhausted and defeated, we decided to call it quits. Yes, I obviously learned that it's pretty hard to catch a rainbow. Hashtag liberal arts problems. But my life so far has been like catching rainbows. The rainbows are goals that I strive for. Money, B minuses, #1, again and again and again. But whenever I catch one, there's always another one. But I found the most enjoyment in the actual chase because I have somebody as crazy as me to catch a frickin' rainbow with. That is the day I fell in love with you, my brothers and sisters. Throughout this whole journey, no matter what goal I was trying to catch or how far it was, you have been there to run with me, even when you were caked in mud. Although life seems to remember us more for what we got rather than how we got there, please never forget each other in our chase till death do us part. At times when I can go no further, I will remember our journey. I will remember you, and I will find hope to persevere. Class of 2012, you may now kiss the bride. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Our Phi Beta Kappa speaker is Anders Schneider.
Tomorrow will be a day different from other tomorrows. We will no longer be Williams undergraduates, but rather alumni. Instead of waking up to go to class, we might be standing at the front of a class. Instead of looking out our windows at the Berkshires, we might look out at a foreign continent. Instead of writing a policy memo for a grade, we might be making policy. Tomorrow, we will run into discomfort, doubt, and people that do not share our vision. We ourselves will make mistakes, a lot of them, probably more than we can imagine from where we sit today. This is one of those times in life when a lot is shifting around us. We're being kicked out of this comfy purple bubble and thrust into the real world. Shift happens. And it's scary. There won't be JAs, office hours, or a friendly dean's office. But now that we're in this deep shift, it's important for us to play to our strengths. So what is it that we are actually good at? At first glance, one might be tempted to say that we are good at hard work, that we know how to put our noses to the grindstone. I don't buy it. I've found far too many of us asleep in study spaces, and by us I mean me, and noted that during reading period, less reading happens than at any other point in the semester. And yet, we have accomplished a lot in our tenure here. We've written theses, we've studied all over the world, we've captained nationally ranked sports teams, and here by we, I mean you. I believe that the secret to those successes lies not in our individual work ethics, but in the strength of our support networks. These networks include our high school teachers, who set us on these incredible paths. I'm looking at you, Dr. B. They include the family sitting with us here today, and the family that will always be in our hearts. I see that support in the professors who serve as mentors as well as educators, in entries sharing highs and lows to the week at snacks. I see it in the thunder that Williams fans bring to Chandler for basketball games, in the camaraderie at the MSRC and the writing workshop, and in the way this community came together when it was struck by hate this past November. And so let's circle back to the question of what we're good at. We're good at being there for one another. Even when there isn't enough time to do all of our own work, we somehow find time when a friend asks for help. I can't count the number of times I've heard someone justify late-night procrastination with the time-honored refrain, 10 years from now, I won't remember this stupid paper, but I will remember sitting here talking to you. On the one hand, this paints a disturbing picture of our graduating class. We've only made it to this ceremony today because of the people around us, who in a matter of hours will all disappear. On the other hand, this informs a plan of attack for next year and beyond. As much as possible, surround yourselves with those people who will challenge you like your professors, encourage you like your teammates, and love you as warmly and deeply as the friends you met at Williams. And more importantly, be that caring, supportive person. Invest in the communities that you find out there and contribute to the success of others. So shift happens, and this graduation is certainly a momentous shift for us all. Our time at Williams has given us an extraordinary capacity to act in support of others. As we begin the next chapters of our lives, let's realize that potential. Thank you and happy birthday, Dad.
Thank you, Andy. As our final student speaker, we welcome the valedictorian of the class of 2012, Brian Lee.
Out in the Berkshires, there's a blacksmith named Williams. She can be cold at times, really cold, but in her heart lays a bounty of warmth. She is strong, tough, even unforgiving, but a master artisan nonetheless. Through the past 4 years, we as a class have been put through the fire, melted down, and pounded thin. We have encountered Williams at her fiercest, but we have also seen her soft side. Who could forget the gentle polishing of papers, problem sets, and theses? Maybe I mixed up a couple of images there. Regardless, when I look at the class of 2012, I see a beautiful masterpiece. We have emerged from the workbench stronger than when we arrived. We are a unified community, yet diverse as can be. We are athletes, artists, writers, teachers, scientists, mathematicians, represent, musicians, and the list goes on. Yet perhaps the most beautiful thing about this class is the fact that none of us lies in only one of these categories. In some ways, we are all well-crafted Swiss Army knives. Throughout our time at Williams, we have accumulated different tools for different occasions. On the one hand, we have the big and strong implements used for athletics, and on the other hand, we have fine and delicate points for the arts. We have sharp and precise edges used for the intellectual rigors of the classroom, and at the same time, we have bottle openers for the weekends and the weekdays. Parents, I'm joking about the weekends. But every new class, every new conversation, and every new experience has been a welcome addition to our toolkit. We have been equipped not only by the faculty and staff, but also by each other. It was through those 3 a.m. conversations in the nooks and crannies of campus that we learned about ourselves and taught ourselves about each other. We have developed different talents, passions, and callings. And more than all the academic work and cerebral pursuits, we have majored in ourselves with concentrations in our closest friends. Fellow classmates, we came to Williams as raw materials, and we now leave as finely crafted instruments. As we travel on to exciting new experiences and adventures, let us remember the people and challenges that equipped us. When we use the tools that we have been given, let us appreciate who and where they came from. Let us be reminded of the communities, classes, and conversations that forged us into who we are today. And especially on this day, let us appreciate the masterful craftsmanship of the friends, family, and faculty around us. Finally, as we go from this place, let us remember that we will always be united, bearing the marks of our Maker. Because for all of us, somewhere up here, or maybe in here, there's a tiny little stamp that reads, "Made at Williams." Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. It is our custom at this time to award honorary degrees to people of great accomplishment in many varied walks of life. We hold them up as deserving of honor Amid the growing din, most political commentators try to yell more loudly, but you try to speak more thoughtfully and nimbly. Driven more by ideas than by ideologies, you bring uncommon breadth and depth to the field. You have managed to do so despite the relentless pressure of a columnist's deadlines and your seeming ubiquity on television and radio and in the pages of our most serious periodicals, making you a kind of king of all political media. Even many of those who disagree with your conclusions welcome the rigor of your analysis, welcome your willingness to admit when you have gotten something wrong, and applaud the example of civility and respect that you model in our increasingly shrill national debates. Would that more in the public arena followed that example. You have married reporting skills honed on assignments across the country and abroad with a wide-ranging intellectual curiosity emblematic of the liberal arts, which has led you to explore how recent developments in the academic fields of psychology, sociology, and even anthropology might help us better understand that elusive species, Homo politicus. I hereby declare you recipient of the honorary degree Doctor of Letters, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Toby Cosgrove, class of 1962. After decorated service as a U.S. Air Force surgeon in Da Nang, you joined the Cleveland Clinic, where your more than 22,000 heart operations and 30 patents filed for medical and clinical inventions earned you a worldwide reputation. If we believed in the rankings of U.S. News and World Report, we would point out that you were the nation's #1 heart surgeon 10 years in a row. But of course we don't. Your being appointed then as the clinic's CEO may have seemed on the surface as logical as, say, asking Picasso to run the Museum of Modern Art. But there was genius in it. And in a second career as astounding as the first, you have grown the clinic into a $6 billion system that, in addition to being the largest employer in the state of Ohio, maintains operations in Florida, Nevada, Canada, and Abu Dhabi. The clinic is not just large, but innovative, pioneering the use of performance data to improve for patients both outcomes and experience, and to find ways of delivering those most efficiently. Perhaps most important, you are leading the charge by word and example to turn our country's system from one that is really disease care to one of true health care. As a result, perhaps no one is having a more profound effect on our nation's health. I hereby declare you recipient of the honorary degree Doctor of Science, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Mary K. Grant. With extraordinary intelligence and determination, you have worked to remake your beloved alma mater, the Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. Through challenging financial times, especially for public colleges, you have somehow managed to add majors, programs, and other student experiences, appoint stellar new faculty, renovate several major buildings, and grow enrollment, both in number and in geographic spread. You have deepened MCLA's ties to the community, adding economic vitality and enhancing the local cultural scene. A particular focus has been your promotion of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, your leadership in which helped secure funding for the Center for Science and Innovation, now under construction, which will benefit not only the campus, but the region. You have also been the driving force behind the Berkshire Compact on Education, an effort already being replicated elsewhere to advance the accessibility and affordability of higher education and to raise aspirations until K through 16 becomes the expectation of all. Public higher education in this country has no more passionate and effective voice, as you and MCLA show how a small college can have national clout even from the remote northwest corner of Massachusetts. I hereby declare you recipient of the honorary degree Doctor of Laws, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Anna DeVere Smith. It takes a pretty versatile actor to portray Gloria Akalitas on Nurse Jackie, Nancy McNally on The West Wing, and Lance Armstrong. But in your case, versatile is only the start of it. You have done no less than create a whole new genre, that of documentary theater. In what the MacArthur Foundation, in awarding you a Genius Grant, called a blend of theatrical art, social commentary, journalism, and intimate reverie, you interview ranges of people and interpret their words in virtuosic, one-woman, multi-character performances. This work has often enabled members of communities and organizations, especially those experiencing conflict, to actually hear each other for the first time. Among your more public works, Fires in the Mirror focused on the Crown Heights riot, as did Twilight on the riots in LA. The Arizona Project examined women's relationships to justice and the law, while Let Me Down Easy, which was about medicine and healthcare, explored the meaning of grace. I try to embody America by embodying its words, you have said. And of Let Me Down Easy that, in this case, they are words about the deepest human experiences, mortality and nobility of character, perseverance, hope, and acceptance. I hereby declare you recipient of the honorary degree Doctor of Fine Arts, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Atul Gawande. Some people are surgeons. Some people are professors. Some are international public health activists. Some are researchers. Some are staff writers at The New Yorker. And some even writers of award-winning international bestsellers. But only you are all of these. I think your cape is showing. Your twin passions are to improve the care provided to patients, your own and others, and to show how healthcare, despite its technological advances and its business model, remains full of human fallibility, mystery, and uncertainty. Your research focuses on transforming safety and performance in surgery, in childbirth, and in the care of those who are dying, and particularly on the seemingly small steps that, because they are easily replicable, can have pervasive effects. You are lead advisor to the World Health Organization's Safe Surgery Saves Lives program, and the founder and chairman of Lifebox, an international nonprofit working to reduce surgical deaths worldwide. No wonder that Time magazine has named you one of the world's top 100 influential thinkers. Long may you continue to shine as such a public example of a healer who combines the best of both mind and heart. I hereby declare you recipient of the honorary degree, Doctor of Science, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. It is our custom to ask one of our honored guests to speak on behalf of the entire group of recipients of honorary degrees. This year, we will have the pleasure of hearing Dr. Gawande.
Thank you for this honor, but most of all, congratulations to the class of 2012, to the families, and to the faculty who all brought you here. I want to tell you a story about a patient of some of my colleagues at my hospital this winter, because her story has stuck with me. Mrs. C was 87 years old, a Holocaust survivor from Germany, and she'd come to the emergency room because she'd lost the vision in her left eye suddenly. It tells you something about her that she was at work when this happened, in the finance department at Sears. She'd worked her entire life. When her family left Nazi Germany, they narrowly avoided the concentration camps, but ended up among 20,000 Jewish refugees relocated to the Shanghai ghetto in Japanese-occupied China. She was a teenage girl and spent 8 years there helping her family just to live and survive until liberation in September 1945. She was denied a formal education, so she worked as a seamstress upon admission to the United States. She rose to head seamstress at Bloomingdale's in Chestnut Hill outside Boston. She married at 23, had 2 sons, and was widowed at 44. And all the way, she remained in remarkably good health. At 87, she still lived independently in a second-floor apartment in Norwood, Mass. She drove a Honda Civic. She did all her own shopping and cooking, and she still worked 3.5 days a week at Sears doing office work, and her other weekdays volunteering at New England Sinai Rehabilitation Hospital. She was sitting at her desk at Sears when the vision in her left eye went completely black. It came back after 3 minutes, and so she dismissed the episode. But the next day, the same thing happened again, only this time the vision didn't come back. Her doctor sent her to our emergency room, where she was suspected to have had a stroke caused by a severe atherosclerotic blockage of the carotid artery in her neck. She needed urgent surgery to open that blockage, and she thought hard before agreeing to it. She didn't even want the tests. She had great fear of the risks and what they could take away from her life. But she had greater fear of what her condition might take away. Being able to be independent, work, and contribute in some way was most important to her, even at 87. And her best chance of preserving this was to act. The operation went well. There were no problems at all. She ended up the next day weak, but she got out of bed. She ate. She felt fine. The day after that, she seemed ready to leave the hospital, but she complained of constipation and that it was making her nauseated and uncomfortable. The team tried various medications, but they did nothing, and her belly only became more painful. A young resident was the one who, looking at her, felt something wasn't right. In fact, this wasn't constipation at all, but a disaster from a strange complication. Her stomach had twisted on itself, pulled up into her chest, and become trapped, a rare condition called gastric volvulus. Worse, an ulcer seemed to have formed in the lining and ruptured into her chest. This is catastrophic for anyone, let alone someone at 87. The textbooks describe an 80% fatality rate. Yet she survived. She, in fact, left the hospital with her son within the week. And the more I reflect on the story of how that was made possible, the more I think the story is relevant to all of us, no matter what our walk of life. When I was nearing the end of medical school, I decided to go into surgery. I had become enthralled by surgeons, especially by their competence. The source of their success, I believed, was their physical skill, their hand-eye coordination and fine motor control. But it wasn't, I learned in my residency training. Getting the physical skills is important, and they take some time to practice and master, but they turn out to be no more difficult to learn than the ones Mrs. C mastered as a seamstress. Instead, the critical skills of the best surgeons I saw involved the ability to handle complexity and uncertainty. They had developed judgment, mastery of teamwork, and willingness to accept responsibility for the consequences of their choices. In this respect, I realized surgery turns out to be no different than a life in teaching, or in public service, or in business, or in almost anything else that you might decide to pursue. We all face complexity and uncertainty no matter where our path takes us. That means we all face a risk of failure. So along the way, we're all forced to develop these critical faculties of judgment, teamwork, and acceptance of responsibility. In commencement addresses like this one, people always admonish us, take risks, be willing to fail. But I've always been puzzled by that. Do you want a surgeon whose motto is, I like taking risks? We do, in fact, want people to take risks, to strive for difficult goals, even when the possibility of failure looms. But progress can't happen otherwise. And still, how you do it, how you deal with failure, is what seems to matter. The key, it turned out, to reducing death after surgery was the introduction of ways to reduce the risk of things going wrong. Through specialization, better planning, technology, they've produced a remarkable transformation in the field. Not that long ago, surgery was so inherently dangerous you would only consider it as a last resort. Large numbers of patients developed problems like infections, bleeding, and other deadly problems we euphemistically called complications. Now, surgery's become so safe and routine that most is day surgery. You go home right afterwards. But there continue to be huge differences between hospitals in the outcomes of their care. Some places still have far higher death rates than others. And an interesting line of research has opened up asking why? Why are some places so much better than others? Some researchers at the University of Michigan discovered the answer recently, and it had a twist I didn't expect. I thought that the best places simply did a better job of controlling and minimizing the risks that they took, that they did a better job of preventing things from going wrong. But to my surprise, they didn't. Their complication rates after surgery were almost the same as others. Instead, what they proved to be great at was rescuing people when they had a complication, preventing failures from becoming catastrophe. Scientists have given a new name to the deaths that occur in surgery after something goes wrong, whether it's an infection or some bizarre twist of the stomach. They call it a failure to rescue. More than anything, this is what distinguished the great from the mediocre. They didn't fail less, they rescued more. This is, in fact, This, in fact, may be the real story of human and societal improvement. Risk is necessary. Things can and will go wrong, but some have better capacity to prepare for the possibility, to limit the damage, and to sometimes even retrieve success from failure. When things go wrong, there seem to be three main pitfalls that you need to avoid, three ways to fail to rescue. You could choose a wrong plan, you could choose an inadequate plan, or you could choose no plan at all. Say you're cooking, and you inadvertently set a grease pan on fire. Throwing gasoline on the fire would be a completely wrong plan. Trying to blow the fire out would be an inadequate plan. And ignoring it, fire, what fire, would be no plan at all. In the BP oil disaster in the Gulf of Mexico 2 years ago, all of these elements came into play, leading to the death of 11 men and the spillage of 5 million barrels of oil over 3 months. According to the official investigation, there had been early signs that the drill pipe was having problems and was improperly designed, but the companies involved did nothing. Then on the evening of April 20, 2010, during a routine test of the well, the rig crew detected a serious possibility, in fact, serious abnormalities in the pressures in the pipe. They watched it, they took more measurements, they found more abnormalities that signaled a kick, an undetected pressure buildup. But they convinced themselves, maybe this was something else. And so it was 2 hours before they realized the seriousness of the situation. 2 hours without a plan of action. Then when they did recognize the trouble, it sent the flow through a piece of equipment that couldn't handle that kind of pressure. The kick escalated to a blowout, the mud gas mix exploded, and at that point, emergency crews went into action. But for 12 minutes, no one sounded a general alarm to abandon the rig, leading directly to the loss of 11 lives in a second explosion. There was, as I said, every type of error, but the key one was the delay in accepting that something serious was wrong. And we see this in lots of ways. We see this in national policy, too. All policies court failure, our war in Iraq, or the effort to try to stimulate our troubling economy. But when you refuse to even acknowledge that your plans aren't going as expected, failure can become a humanitarian disaster. The sooner you're able to see clearly that your best hopes and intentions have gone awry, the better. You have more room to pivot and adjust. You have more of a chance to rescue. Recognizing that your expectations are proving wrong, accepting that you need a new plan, is commonly the hardest thing to do. We have a problem called confidence. To take a risk, you must have confidence in yourself. In surgery, you learn this very early on. You are imperfect, your knowledge is never complete, your skills are never infallible, yet you have to act. You cannot let yourself become paralyzed by fear. Yet you cannot blind yourself to failure either. You have to prepare for it. For strangely enough, only then is success possible. When Mrs. C's abdominal pain turned to catastrophe, for instance, my colleagues were prepared. Now, they weren't prepared for anything so odd as the idea that her stomach would have wound on itself like a balloon twisted too tight. In fact, when the surgical resident told Mrs. C's lead surgeon that he was concerned about the way her abdomen felt on his exam, the surgeon thought he was being alarmist. She'd been doing great the day before. What could go wrong in someone's belly after neck surgery anyway? He'd never seen a serious belly problem in such circumstances. But the surgeon was humble enough to understand that he could. You never know which way trouble can strike. So he listened. He allowed the resident to order the scan he wanted to get. The team made sure it was expedited. When it showed the queer twist, no one dismissed it. They got help from another surgeon immediately. They had her on an operating table within 2 hours. Nothing went exactly perfectly. There was still a good deal of fumbling around as they tried to sort out what was really going on and what should be done. For a time, they hoped for a small, short procedure, just using a scope and avoiding a big operation. And that would have been an inadequate plan. But they avoided the worst mistake, which was to have no plan at all. And so they acted early enough to buy themselves time for trial and error, to figure out the steps required to get her through. They gave her and themselves the chance to rescue success from failure. I spoke to Mrs. C a couple days ago. She's living with her son now. She turned 88 this past April. With her vision gone in her left eye, she can't work anymore or drive, and she misses both greatly. I'm not the same person I used to be, she told me. She doesn't like being dependent on others, even for just a ride, but she has otherwise returned to leading a life of her own. She enjoys her family, especially her grandchildren, and she's even looking for ways to volunteer again. Life is not perfect, but it's good, she said. As you embark on your path, you're going to take chances on a relationship, on a job, a new line of study. You'll have great hopes, but things won't always go right. When I graduated from college, I went abroad to study philosophy. I hoped to become a philosopher, but I proved to be profoundly mediocre in the field. I tried starting a rock band. You don't want to know how awful the songs I wrote were. I wrote one song, for example, comparing my love for a girl to the decline of Marxism. After this, I worked in government on healthcare legislation that not only went nowhere, it set back the prospect of health reform for almost 2 decades. But the only failure is the failure to rescue something. I took away ideas and experiences and relationships with people that profoundly changed what I was able to do when I finally found the place that was for me, which was in medicine. So you will take risks, and you will have failures, but it's what happens afterwards that is defining. A failure often does not have to be a failure at all. However, you have to be ready for it. Will you admit when things go wrong? Will you take steps to set them right? Because the difference between triumph and defeat, you'll find, isn't about your willingness to take the risk in the first place. It's about mastery of rescue afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gawande. It is now my great pleasure to ask Dean Bolton to present the candidates for degrees.
Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty, I have the honor to present the following candidates for the degree of Master of Arts. Susanna Evelyn Blair. Christiana Susan Bonin. Jamie Kathleen Comstock Skip. Caitlin Whittam Condell. Jesse Noah Feynman in absentia. Alan Hirsch in absentia. Ashley Elizabeth Lazevnik. Edward M. Lassard in absentia. Alexandra Tori Nemiroff. James Bacher Pilgrim. Zoe Cabarnes Samuels. Lucy Rose Slessen Steinberg.
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts in the History of Art, entitled to all the rights honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty, I have the honor to present the following fellows at the Center for Development Economics for the degree of Master of Arts in Policy Economics. Yeva Alexanyan. Naveed Bakshi. Bui T. Chang Zun. B. George Matu Cooper. Carla Maria Cordova Perez. Dabure Lianage Nihal. Arno G. Dakpogan. Madhav Dangal. Kanyisile Lamini Dube. Alexander Yegorov. Pablo Ernesto Avia Salas. Akaki Gielazonia. Mohamed Jamu. Nino Javakadze. Daniel Jenya. Giovanni Dilruxi Contincadua. Olta Magnani. Nakhonzi Manotham. Janet Gladys Mataka. Joel Mandizabal Cordova. Nyem Hong Zhang. Caroline Ntumwa. Mansour Abdul Karim Raje. Razakamanansu Mamsu. Juan Carlos Sosa Valle. Musafar Tilafov. Mola Teen. Romel Tuaso. Malini Zawana. And Ulvi Yusufov.
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts in Policy Economics, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty, I have the honor to present the following candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Isaac Abadeo Obodorin. Michael Joseph Asirno. G1 On. Michael Alberto David Acala. Caitlin Sue Aldrin. Kristen Marie Alada. Matiula Amin. Ashley Larwood Amos. Eric Matthew Anderson. Clarissa Christelle Andre. Anna Sergeyeva Antonova. Patrick Anthony Aquino. Samir Arial. Hope Ruth Asher. Praprutpong Athiwarat Kun. Casey A. Augustine. Grace Carolyn Babula. Amlak Bantikasing. Francesca Grace Barrett. Chelsea Silberstein Barrios. Khalid Ali Bashir. Nandita Omprakash Buthija. Ellen Monica Beauchamp. Eileen Anna Becker. Megan Taylor Barend. Andi Bechirai. Laura Irene Burke. Stella Grace Burke. Mira Beth Bernstein. Jack Edison Berry. Alec Morse Blance. Thomas Edward Bliska III. Sonia Minfei Boatman. Courtney Wilcox Bogle. John Richard Borden II. Victoria Francis Borish, summa cum laude. Megan Danielle Braun. Luke Martin Breckenridge. Megan Patricia Breen. Haley Marie Brooks. Austin Michelle Brown. Mary Claire Brunelli. Hawina Asifa Bulcha. Oscar Calzada. Alexander Henry Cameron. Daniel Michael Kanina. Nancy Campbell Carnegie Cannon. Caroline Shield Caputi. Amber Marie Cardus. David Austin Carlin. Laurel Appleton Carter. Thomas Michael Casserly. Kelvin Evelio Castro. Elizabeth Sarah Mune Chan. Nikki Yoon Jung Chang. Sewall Chang. Dickon Hadsley Chaplin. Susan Tyler Chapman. Susan Chen. Renzi David Chipman. Sabine Chishti. Gina Chung. Chelsea Ann Church. Zena Hill Segole. Sarah Jane Clark. Christopher Walker Cleary. Mariah Brennan Clegg. Joel Thomas Clemmer. Evan Ross Cohen. Tyler Ashby Cole. Felipe Gustavo Colina. Kelsey Ann Kumaneni Conklin. Benjamin Louis Contini. Alexandra Julia Cornell. Zeynep Joshkun. Kevin Cower. Holly Elizabeth Crane. Lila Adams Crawford. Thomas Nelson Crawford. Matthew Arvid Crimp. Sean William Comiskey. Colin Dow Kersey. Amanda Louise Darling. Chase Edward Davenport. Sarah Elizabeth Davidson. Austin Joseph Davis. Natalie Fisher Davis. Newton Livingston Davis Jr. Jessica Noel de la Cuesta. Rodrigo de las Casas. Olivia Rachel D'Elia. Evelyn Catherine Denham, summa cum laude. Stephen Paul Denza. Catherine Baker D'Angelo. Carlos Alfonso Diaz Sullivan. Maya Mecca Dickinson. David Isert Doggett. Juliette Madeline Dome. Daniel Joseph Duran. Elizabeth Bly Dorr. Sarah Jean Dorsey. Laura Lee Dos Reis. Jonathan Dean Draxton. Roop Kumar Dutta. Holly Rose Dwyer. Rebecca Ann Akins. Brett Cole Eisenhart. Caitlin Hathaway Ellis. Brian David Emerson. Susanna Grace Emerson. Vashti Louise Imai. Brent Michael Ang. Ellery Jane Erdos. Leah Anna Arienu. Amanda Esteves Kraus. Christopher Adrian Estrella. Catherine Honor Evans. Zachary Robert Evans. Chloe Iambe Naomi Illyria Feldman Emerson. Elizabeth Trillia Fide Bagwell in absentia. Jeffrey Daniel Fieber. Davis Anthony Philippel. Walter Lawrence Filkins IV. Taylor Alexander Fitzgerald in absentia. Jack Lawrence Fitzhenry. Colleen Winifred Fitzpatrick. Katrina Elaine Flanagan. Taylor Diane Fleischacker. Nicholas John Fogel. Caitlin Michelle Foley. Tia Moya LaRae Ford. Eliza Ramsey Foster. Aaron Henry Tritipo Friedman. Jordan Taylor Frecking. Tarek Akil French. Taylor Ray French. Barry Anton Frett. Marguerite Elizabeth Fulton. Richard Daniel Fusco. Westcott Carol Gale. Catherine Frances Gallagher. Kathleen Grace Gathright. Robert James Guilefus. Carolyn Frances Geller. Charles Graham Gephardt. Lisa Mariko Gluckstein. Timothy Gerald Goggins. Shelby DeArmond Golan. David Ariel Gold. Noah Nassim Goldberg. Lauren Tova Goldstein Kral. Alan Gonzalez Olivas. Grace Helen Rebecca Gordon. Jill Elizabeth Greenberg. Elizabeth Amanda Greiter. Daniel Adam Gross. Daniel Spiegel Grossman, summa cum laude. John Joseph Guffrey. Declan Sean Guilfoyle. William Leo Haddon IV. Benjamin Wiesner Halbauer, in absentia. Marcello Isaiah Halitzer. Mika Saragina Halprin. Jacob Bernard Halpert. Kelsey O'Brien Ham. Carlin Marie Hansen DeSelles. Maya Capel Harakawa. Richard Samuel Tucker Hargrove. Vanessa Morgan Harper. Sarah Rose Harris. Allison Melissa Hart. Zara Hassan. Adina Amelia Hernandez. Sarah Pylown Herr. Hillary Christina Higgs. Wait just 1 second. Where are you? Oh. Okay. Hannah Erin Hausman. Hillary Christina Higgs. Raven Holly Hills. Aaron Peter Holowinski. Matthew Timothy Horan. Stuart Charles Horgan. Matthew William Hosick Jr. Sabrina Marie Howard. Regina M. Richard Carlton Iskra. Jonea Marie Jackson. Marnie Lisbeth Jacobs. Lisa Marie Jarris. Zoe Louisa Jenkin. Stephanie Ann Jensen. Truan G. Chengja Jin. Gregory Charles Johnson. Jamal Amiri Johnson. Samuel Nevin Janias. Carolyn Standish Kemmer. Benjamin Francis Kane. Paisley Kang. Gregory Walter Kaskin. Nathaniel Ross Caston. Ariel Sarah Kavusi. Ansar Aftab Kazi. Thomas Joseph Kearney. Amanda Christine Keating. Angus McLean Kennedy. Nora Christine Kern. Ari Michael Kirstein. Ayush Khadka. Adnan Mohammed Khan. Robert Paul Kadarian Jr. Imran Karim Koha. Charlotte Ann Kieshel. Timothy Joseph Kiley in absentia. Colin Joseph Killick. Brian Dongqui Kim. Avon Emerson King. Daniel Kosakoff Kohane. Josephat Kipruto Koima. Murat Kololu. Thomas Michael Kuzmarski. Elike Kwajo Kumahia. Catherine Marie Kumamoto. Brianne Sungita Kumar. Andrew Frank Kung. Thomas Kuriakos. Claire Huntley Lefebvre. Ganpo Dorje Lama. Powell Langer. Erin Caitlin Lauer. Hillary Ruth Ledwell, summa cum laude. Anna Lee. Chansu Lee. Donna Lee. Elizabeth Gordon Lee. Mindy Channy Lee. Pinsy Lay. Sarah Jean Lenfest. Eric Alexander Barfod Levinson. Michael David Levy. Aaron Changjo Lim. Natalia Danielle Lowen. Christopher David Logan. Alexander William Long. Timothy Andrew Lawrenson, sorry. Marguerite Palmore Love. Marianne Rodley Ludwig. Dimitri Luthi. Alan Lum. Marissa Beth Lupo. Ariel Ashton Ledane. Shuai Ma, summa cum laude. Dorothy Brayton McCausland. Matthew Zachary Madden. Jacqueline Denise Magby. Wendy Vimbai Magarunga. John William Marr. Hannah Finley Mangum. Michael Thomas Mara. Paloma Marine. Harrison Lewis Marino. Ryan Christopher Morano. David Samuel Marsh. Christina Marie Martin. Bianca Noel Martinez. Mitchell Martinez. Donald Bunichi Muyama. Mario Joseph Mastromarino. James Muita Mathenge. Hannah Jeanette Matheny. Samuel Anthony James Black Mazzarella. Jane Ruthier McClellan. Lauren Marie McDonald. Gregory Scott McElroy. Elizabeth Grace McIntyre. Naima Carolyn McFarland. Oriana Maricela McGee. Erin Ann McGonigal. Leah Bears McInerney. Misha Markea Ariel McIntosh. Allison Beth McKinnon. James Wendell McKinsey III. Samuel Paul McManama. Michelle Marie McRae. Emily Amanda McTague. Soraya Membrano. Adriana Veronica Mendoza Lee. Peter Grove Menking. Raphael Toby Menko. Peter Sherman Mertz. Christopher Matthew Mazias. Daquan Marquise Mickens. Jordan Lee Mickens. Whitney McGregor Michael. Nori Veda Miller. Adrian Louise Neutzman Minsmeyer in absentia. Nicola Vandervoort Mirkovich. Alexandra Mironov. Ali Elizabeth Mitchell. Martha Blessing Mitchell. Sylvia Tanuki Molina. David Herman Monick II. Margaret Rita Moore. Jimmy Noro Morales. Paula Victoria Morin. Andrew Coulter Morgosh. William Decatur Morris. Jennifer Ann Lorraine McClellan Morrison. Kathleen Yingchow Morrison. Daniel Eugene Morrisroe. Patrick Joseph Morrissey. Michaela Kathleen Morton. Karen Elaine Moss. Sayantan Mukhopadhyay. Megan Marie Muncy in absentia. Kenneth Tyler Murgo. Lauren Elizabeth Mykrantz. Daniel Christopher Nashon. Edward Winston Nadell. Victor Nadge. Helena Ellis Nanis. Michael Kenworth Nelson Jr. Amy H. Nguyen. Andrew Tayan Nguyen, summa cum laude. Cam Vun Nguyen. Quoc Ein Nguyen. Emily Devereaux Niehaus. Vincent Nicholas Nistico. Amy Elise Nolan in absentia. Diogenes Nunez Jr. Evan Wood Olison. Molly Dulcinea Olguin. Benjamin Mark Oliva. Lindsay Oliver Olson. Daniel Bailey O'Mara. Eric David Outerson. Matthew Lindsay Pageon Burdoff. Ian Daniel Page. Jin Young Park. Bonnie Kaufman Patchen. Rachel Corinne Patel. Theo Michael Patsalos Fox. Emma Montserrat. Faust Paul Petkovich. Maria Alcott Phelps. David Daniel Phillips. Nina Grace Piazza. Matthew Benjamin Hilch. Allison Strangis Pincus. Jacqueline Olga Pineda. Xiomara Elizabeth Pinto. Sydney Alexandra Pitts Adeyinka. Michael William Pizzi. Brad Michael Polsky. Nicholas Joseph Pugliese. Ryan Neil Purdy. William Manigold Quayle. John David Rabiner. Anthony Rocco Raduezo. Rania Mohammed Ramadan. Hetal Jitin Ray. Amanda M. Reed. David Lionel Risen. Zachary Dona Remillard. Laura Marie Renfro. Stephanie Yamilet Reyes. Peter Edward Resnick. Margaret Elizabeth Richmond. Catherine Lee Rieger. Jeanette Lisbeth Rivera. Marissa Akiko Robertson. Margaret Groves Robinson. Sydney Luke Robinson, summa cum laude. Dominique Giselle Rodriguez. Jennifer Joanna Rodriguez. Michelle Judith Rodriguez. Taisha Rodriguez. Anna Marie Rodriguez Villa. Cameron Randolph Rogers. Lucy Catherine Rollins. Evelyn Marie Rosado. Rebecca Stern Rosenblatt. Rigoberto Francisco Ruiz Bonilla. Connor Patrick Ryan. Michael Sedgwick Ryan. Mustafa Sadi. Nargis Sahibova. Eliana Berlovsky Saltzman. Hannah Marie Lee Saltzman, summa cum laude. Joseph Paul Samuels. David Anthony Samuelson. Kimberly Diane Sanders. Takudo Sato. Noah Adam Schechter. Jonathan Robert Schmeling. Noah Emmanuel Schoenholtz. Matthew Alexander Schuck. Elizabeth Alexandra Schulte. Dylan James Schultz. Emily Rose Schwab. Ryan James Scott. Aaron Song in absentia. Julia Reynolds Seiferth. Nirali K. Shah. Kevin Robert Shallcross. Nicole Oluchi Shannon. Kate Juliana Shaper. Gregory Daniel Shamason Sherrod. Lauren Emily Shuffleton. Taryn Ruth Siegel. Sachi Catherine Siegelman. Kendra Demetria Sims. Shara Singh. Tarjinder Singh. Mira Diana Sivalingam. Taida Smilehojic. Stephen Matthew Smith. Vernon Telford Smith, the fourth. Vanessa Sotanto. Hannah Song. Deonarine Samdeo Sugrim. Antal Benjamin Spector Zabuski. Mark Weston Springle. Matthew Philip Stager. Yvette Alexandra Stanziola. Abigail Margaret Stark. Glynis Lundberg Starts. Nicole Jean Stenquist. Aubrey Joelle Stevens. Connor McKeon Stern. Catherine Scott Stevenson. John Charles Stickney Jr. Juliana Rose Stone. Kimberly Ann Stroop. William Sue. Sheila Sabom Sue. Pamela Morita Summers. Cameron Daniel Susk. Hannah Catherine Sistrom. Anna Jeanette Szymanski. Cordelia Elizabeth Tai. Inez Shui-Ting Tan. Alana Rachel Teitelbaum. Jorge Sebastian Tena. Daniel Abraham Tesler. Timothy Ruth Texter. Laone Tekiso. Brian Irad Thomas. Brianna Anais Thomas. Logan Pamela Toddhunter. Sydney Lauren Tews. Jessica Altagracia Torres. I. Lee Tron. Alexander Walcott Trico. Justin Franco Troiani. Kristen Ann Tubbs. Ashley Elizabeth Turner. Taisha Janae Turner. Daniel William Vasey. Heather Valenzuela. Christopher William Valley. Philip Edvard Vestergaard. Kyle James Villanova. Marcia Aracelis Villarroel, in absentia. Alexander Voloshin. Nathaniel Thompson von Euler-Hogan. Norman Joseph Walczek. Sarah Clarkson Wallace. Benjamin Dayton Wampler. Deechin Wang. James Tingche Wang. Nancy Wang. Zena Berry Ward. Madura Rose Watanages. Madeline Rawlings Watson. Amanda Dixon Warrow Weatherhead. Stephen Maurice Weiss. William Timothy Palder Weiss. Emily Lynn Wendell. Carl Isaac Whipple. Melissa Ariana Whitaker. Gregory Allen White. Holly Jean Whitney. Zachary Alton Whitney. Ebriana Michelle Wiggins. Fiona Elizabeth Wilkes. Hannah Ray Wilson. Nicole Lee Wise. Sarah Lodzia Witkowski. Lily Vungling Wong. Lowell Rollins Jones Wooden. Grace Livingston Wright. Matthew Jackson Wyatt. Hewan Carrie Yuk. Bo Young Yoon. Chad Alexander Young. Sivad Jordan Young. Tiffany Yu. Lauren Vaughn Zachary. David Parsons Zachheim. Li Yang Zhang. Ross Jiajun Zhang. Matthew Ning Zhou. Tian Yue Zhou. Rachel Troy Zipersky. Jared Jacob Zuckerman. Kyle Vincent Martin. Anders Eric Schneider. Brian Timothy Lee, summa cum laude. Stephen Paul Meyer II, Marshal of the class. Nolutando Bridget Nobo, Marshal of the class. Julian Adam Century, Marshal of the class. And Elizabeth Jimenez, Marshal of the class. All members of the senior class, please stand for the conferring of the degree.
You ready? By virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Arts, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Congratulations. is a $10 deposit on the hats. Just kidding. You don't have to get the hat back. I now call on Chris Gilio, President of the Society of Alumni, to welcome our new recipients of degrees.
Good morning, class of 2012, and it's still morning, so good morning. And I'm the last guy between you guys and lunch, so I'll be quick. Congratulations on this remarkable achievement. On behalf of the Williams College Society of Alumni, the oldest continuous college alumni association in the world, I want to welcome you to this unique family. Our society was formed by a small group of dedicated Williams graduates in 1821 to sustain the college in the face of the defection of a group of faculty and students to another institution down the road that we won't talk about today. With more than 27,000 living members, the society is, just as it was nearly 200 years ago, a critical link to the college's past and a foundation for its future. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you during periodic visits to the campus over the last few years, and I've been particularly impressed with the way that you've managed to take advantage of so many of the resources that this wonderful college has to offer. Now that you've graduated, I hope you'll continue that practice and reach out to Williams alumni wherever your future takes you. Your fellow alumni are there to offer career advice and mentoring, tell you about the best neighborhoods to live in throughout the world, and simply provide a friendly social outlet in a new locale. So I encourage you, use this tremendous resource in any way you can. Seek out a regional association or alumni affinity group. Serve as a class officer, become a class agent for the Alumni Fund, or just stop by a regional telecast in November and watch the Eves mop the floor with those defectors on the football field. You'll never regret this decision. Once again, congratulations, best of luck with your future endeavors, and welcome to the Williams College Society of Alumni.
Thank you, Chris. You can sit down if you like. Feels good. With these ceremonies now drawing to a close, and in bidding you all farewell, I would remind the audience, to remain standing. Not yet, though. Until after the academic procession has moved out of the area, and ask the new graduates to remain in line until they have reached Chapin Hall. As is our custom, we will now sing one verse of the Mountains, after which the chaplain to the college will offer a benediction. You will find the words to the Mountains accompanied by our own Williams Commencement Ensemble in the program book.
We go now from this place and these people we have learned to love into a world we are still learning to love. As you go, peace to you who have stirred this place, ruffled and unsettled it, fussed and fumed at it, strained and struggled and even suffered in it. Peace to you who have soaked up more than enough of the glory of the sky and the majesty of the hills and the light on the sparkling snow, to call them to mind when you need them, and to remember that nothing can ever take from you these gifts of peace. Peace to you in a world that cries out even now for your help in banishing the violence of poverty, of war, of greed, of indifference. Grace to you who have graced this place. Grace in the letting go of things it is time to let go of. Grace in the freedom to forgive and to be forgiven for mistakes made, wounds inflicted and sustained, failures of vision or sensitivity. Grace to you in a world that needs as much patience with its human foibles as you have, and as much impatience with its human folly as you can put to work in your work. Beauty to you, who have discovered so much of your beauty in this place, who have danced and played and written, who have poured out your love of life, and who have discovered the unexpected beauty of difference and the difficult beauty of dissonance and dissent. Love to you, who have loved in this place and loved this place, who while living here have given yourselves away in friendship and in inquiry, who have mapped deeper places in your own hearts than you knew existed, who have discovered more tender places in the hearts of others than it ever occurred to you to notice before. Love to you in a world that says it values love, but fills its shallow places with things and loves possession more than giving away. Hope to you, who have hoped so much in this place, who have set your marks impossibly high and then met and passed them, who have stretched to the limit of your reach and with the courage of honesty acknowledged what is, for now, beyond it. Hope to you in a world that needs you to stretch to reach it and that is counting on you to hope for it. Blessing to you who have blessed this place, who have loved and forgiven and created and hoped and rejoiced and struggled in this place. These are all forms of blessing. And this place you have lived for these few years will never recover, we hope, from the blessing of you. Blessing to you in a world that will bless you and bless the day you gave yourself to its struggles, its hopes, its search for peace. Peace to you. Go in peace, with love and with all the beauty, grace, and hope that this place can engrave upon any heart. Go in peace. Alleluia. Amen.
Mr. Sheriff, pray, bring these ceremonies to a close.
The
223rd commencement of Williams College is now hereby terminated. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.